Oh my god, they're dead!
Who could have done such a heinous act?
I bet it was that frog down by the swamp. I don't like that frog. He's got them shifty eyes. It was that convict Ironjaw, that rapscallion.
I bet it was that strange shadowy figure that likes to swing in the park on Thursday nights.
I swear to you, it was my stuffed panda. He's possessed.
It could have been Ricky's arm. We haven't seen it since it got cut off.
I definitely know who the killer is.
Blank is the killer. Hello, welcome to Blank is the Killer, the unoriginal horror movie podcast where I, your host Josh Baker, cover 6 new-to-me horror movies and for the time being talk about my first watch through of Buffy the Vampire Slayer for the 7th topic. This episode has more Piranha, spooky anthologies, and whack witches. Let's jump into an old station wagon together and drive down an unnamed highway to hell. We got nothing better to do, and I hear there's an infinity diner down there. Whatever that means. Number 1, Piranha 3DD. 2012, directed by John Gulager. A girl named Maddie comes back to her hometown. Her stepfather, Chet, has added an adult theme to the family water park after Maddie's mom passed away. The piranha were supposed to be only in the lake from the first movie, but somehow they have spread. During opening day, the piranha invade the water park. A bunch of people die, but the chaos is stopped by draining the pools and some explosive thinking. Right when everything is calming down, the piranha begin walking on land and continue their killing spree. Piranha are the killers. I want to say Chet is a killer. He didn't technically know that he was for sure pumping piranha into the park. During the chaos, he backs up a golf cart over a little girl, but it's not confirmed if that killed her. Like its predecessor, Piranha 3DD has a ton of random people in it. We got Gary Busey, he dies in the first scene, David Hasselhoff, David Koechner, and more Christopher Lloyd. Paul Scheer and Ving Rhames are also back. I thought they both died in the first one. They explain that Ving Rhames just lost his legs, but I remember Paul Scheer being super dead. Turns out they never explicitly show him dying in the first movie. Compared to the first film, Piranha 3DD, or 3DD, is worse in almost every way. The gore isn't as good, the cinematography is worse, and the acting is about just as bad as it is in the first one. I will say that this sequel seems to have more fish puppets, which is awesome, and I didn't notice any glaring issues where the audio didn't match up with what the characters were saying in this one. Kudos for that, I guess. Even though this movie is a step down from the first one, Piranha 3DD is still a fun time. Not go out of your way to watch fun, but it's entertaining. The David Hasselhoff stuff is pretty good. There's a slow motion running sequence showcasing his now flabby body. The Jaws dolly zoom is used 3 times on him in succession for no real reason other than it's funny. Like Jerry O'Connell from the first movie, David Koechner is also great at playing sleazebag characters. If you don't know him by name, I guarantee you'll recognize his face. I think my favorite movie he acts in is The Goods. His death in Piranha 3DD is absurd and great. He's driving off in a golf cart, gets his head cut off by one of those lines with little triangle flags on them. His head then goes flying off his body with a great amount of blood spurting, and finally comes to rest in the arms of a topless woman who's covered in blood. She's freaking out, so it looks like his decapitated head is motorboating the woman's red breasts. If that's not one of the dumbest yet genius things I've ever seen, I don't know what is. That is the main death that stuck out to me. A kid gets his head bitten off by a piranha that starts walking on land at the end of the movie, which is also pretty funny because of the abruptness of the death. We can't have a sequel without a penis bite, of course, so Katrina Bowden, who's probably best known for her role as Cerie in 30 Rock, ends up getting a piranha in her body. She then has sex with this dude. Can you see where this is going? Yeah, the piranha comes out of her hoo-ha and bites homie's ding-dong. He then has to cut off his penis to get rid of the fish. I think I would try stabbing the fish or pretty much anything else before jumping to the member severance, but to each their own. Pet warning, well, not really. More of a stupid but funny thing to talk about regarding a cow's corpse. Gary Busey is looking for his cow. He finds it dead in the water. The corpse starts letting out gas, which pushes piranha eggs out of its behind. Mr. Busey puts a lighter by the cow's hind end, which causes the piranha-filled cow to explode. A guy also gets a piranha pulled out of his rear end. I'm not sure why piranha are so attracted to butts in this movie. As you can tell, this movie is not a highbrow comedy. Piranha 3DD is a stupid, entertaining movie. If you ever see it available for viewing when you are super bored, it'll help you waste an hour and 20 minutes. The director John Gulager also directed another horror comedy series called Feast. I may have seen the first one, but can't remember. I might cover it in some other episode. Number 2, Southbound, 2015, directed by Roxanne Benjamin, David Bruckner, Patrick Horvath, and Radio Silence. Two guys are driving a truck. They are being chased by demons. They stop at a diner, then try to leave it, but they find out they're stuck in a loop. A demon kills one of the guys. The other goes home and is stuck in a weird loop where he sees his daughter continuously running away. We then meet a band. They get a flat tire and hitch a ride with the weird couple to an even weirder house where they have a family dinner. Two of the band members eat the food served, and one named Sadie does not. The two that ate end up brainwashed by the weird family cult. Sadie sees this and the ghost of her dead friend. She runs to the road to try and get help and is hit by Lucas. Lucas wasn't paying attention. He calls 911 and they try to talk him through helping Sadie. Lucas gets her to a hospital that's abandoned. Another voice starts helping Lucas, and the trio on the phone with him start laughing after Lucas follows their advice, which kills Sadie. They then tell him to leave without worrying about anything. One of the people that was on the phone goes to a bar. A guy named Danny bursts in with a shotgun, demanding to know the whereabouts of a girl named Jessie. He's led to Jessie and tries to get her away from the hellish town she's been in. Danny drives out into the desert, learns Jessie killed their parents because she wanted to, and is dragged out of his car by a gang of nude dudes. Jessie goes back to town and yells at a girl named Jem. Jem is with her parents. The family goes home and then three guys invade the home. The dad did something to a daughter of one of the guys. Context clues reveals he killed her. The mom and then dad are killed. Jem is let go, but she comes back and is murdered. The same demons from the beginning burst out of Jem and start hunting the three home invaders. One is quickly killed, and the other two, who are the guys from the beginning, take off in a truck. The two guys in the truck, Lucas, Jessie, and Jem's dad, are the killers. One of the truck guys kills the mom, and another kills Jem. Jem's dad is the one that killed the kid, so killing innocent people that didn't know makes the two men in the truck killers. The demons spawned from Jem to kill her killers, so the demons aren't being counted. Danny might have been killed by the nude dudes, aka the powdered donut boys, but I need to be sure to list that nefarious gang as killers. Southbound has been popping up a lot recently, and I was avoiding it due to it being an anthology. I don't have anything against anthologies, but they are normally a lot harder to cover due to the multiple stories. They also lead to crazy long summaries. As a whole, I enjoyed Southbound. All the stories are entertaining. Normally I have a standout favorite, but I enjoyed everything equally. Most of the directors have done parts for the VHS series, and Roxanne Benjamin also did a segment for XX, which is a horror anthology completely directed by women. I've been meaning to check out XX, but I've stated anthologies are tough to cover. I'm going to stop being a baby and cover it next. Anywho, Southbound takes place along a highway with no name. My understanding is that everyone is in this hellish world for some reason. There are a lot of great practical effects in this. After Lucas hits Sadie with his car, we get a bunch of neat practical gore as he tries to save her life. His actions lead to her leg breaking off, which is strangely comedic. Besides that, you also get to see some neat gore when one of the truck guys has a run-in with a demon. There are also a couple shotgun wounds that look great. Danny even shoots a demon guy's head off. I don't think it killed him though, so I'm not counting Danny as a killer. I consider the demon guy innocent. He was just tending bar. Surprisingly, there is some neat monster CGI in this, a la the demons that spawn from Jem's corpse. Their design is great. They are floating skeletons with tentacle lower halves. The upper bodies have what I can best describe as peanut shell coverings that open up to show their boniness when they attack. They also have wings and a big scythe hand. Actually, each one looks a little different, but given the lower budgets of these types of movies, the CGI looks great. The acting is hit or miss. It ranges from a little off to decent. The guy that plays the maintenance worker in Orange is the New Black plays the bartender. I think he's been off in every role I've ever seen him in. He's not believable for some reason. Sadie is played by Fabienne Therese. I recognized her, and after a quick Google, was reminded that she played Tess in a movie I covered a while ago called Sequence Break. She's alright in Southbound. She didn't have much to work with in that other movie. If you've watched Sarah Silverman's I Love You America, you might recognize Mather Zickel, aka Man at a Desk. He played Lucas in Southbound. That's all the people I recognized. Interesting, I know. If you're looking for a hellish anthology, check out Southbound. All the segments are strong. Number 3, XX, 2017, directed by Roxanne Benjamin, Sofia Carrillo, Annie Clark, aka St. Vincent, Karyn Kusama, and Jovanka Vuckovic. Everyone in a family besides the mom starves themselves to death after the son sees what's inside a stranger's gift box on a train and spills the beans about what he saw to his sister and dad. A husband dies after mixing pills and alcohol and is found by his wife, who tries and fails to hide his body since she doesn't want the death to ruin their daughter's birthday. Some hipsters go adventuring in the wilderness and have fun until one of them, named Gretchen, is possessed by a demon and murders everyone else. A mother tries to keep her son away from his true father, Satan, and they both die during a strong embrace. Starvation, mixing pills and alcohol, Demon Gretchen, Hugs, and Andy are the killers. Coming from the Southbound anthology hype, I dove into XX and was let down. While I think all the stories in Southbound were good and entertaining, there were parts of XX that were hard to get through. The worst segment by far is The Birthday Party, directed by St. Vincent. First off, it's not even in the horror genre. I believe you could make a horror short surrounded around finding a dead loved one or having to hide their body, but this short comes off as a stupid character doing stupid things solely for comedic effect. Problem is, number 1, this is a horror anthology. Number 2, The Birthday Party is not funny at all. All of the main characters' actions are groan-inducing. Okay, so you find your husband's dead body and need to hide it in order to allow your daughter to have a good birthday party. Do you A, hide the body in a closet that no one will look in during the party, or B, hide the body in plain sight after putting it in a panda costume that you bought off the would-be party entertainer, where the now furry corpse is practically guaranteed to be revealed as what it is, a dead body, at some time during the birthday party? Obviously you go with the latter because you're St. Vincent and super quirky. The acting here is hammy and unbelievable. There isn't any gore. This short also has a bunch of loud jump scare noises for no reason. They literally don't fit at all. The next short is better. When it comes to character design, my favorite of the bunch is Don't Fall. In Don't Fall, Demon Gretchen is really creepy looking when you see her hanging upside down and creeping with that demon face and sharp teeth. Her design is practical, and so is the gore for the gnarly broken leg a girl gets when she doesn't listen to the title of the short's advice. The demon that possesses Gretchen looks surprisingly bad though. I'm not sure who decided to give the demon the cheesy, half-baked, after-image effect that's used, but the demon ends up looking cheap and lame. Besides that terrible demon, I like the aesthetic and tone of the short. Demon Gretchen is played by Brita Wool, who had a big role in a season of Unreal. The acting in this short is decent. It was directed by Roxanne Benjamin. So far, I've liked most things I've seen from her. On to the next segment, her only living son. A woman has a son with Satan and keeps the son away from the devil's grasp. I want to say I almost like this short. The idea that your child turns out bad is terrifying. Now, if they turned out to be the Antichrist, oh geez. We get a pet warning in this segment since the son Andy hurts his dog off screen and kills the squirrel, which we see nailed to a tree. The Antichrist? More like the Andy Christ, am I right? The acting in the short is strong enough from Andy and his mom. All the other characters, barring a concerned mother, are basically weird worshippers of Andy. The worshippers aren't the best acted. I want more of a terrifying presence from them instead of strange cheese, kinda like the followers in Hereditary. In Her Only Living Son, we get some demon toe and fingernails applied to Andy, but his demon traits didn't impress me. The ending of this one was lackluster. They escape Satan but die in a tight embrace. It's pretty anticlimactic. The audio is especially bad in this short. The overall quality puzzles me since Her Only Living Son was written and directed by Karyn Kusama. She directed multiple features including Jennifer's Body and The Invitation before this, so I'm not really sure what happened here. The last of the shorts, which is actually the first short of the anthology, is The Box. My initial feelings were pretty meh. After allowing it to marinate in my mind a bit, I want to say it's my favorite of the bunch. While watching the short, I had a nice bit of dread in my stomach. What did the boy see in the box? It's so bad that he stopped eating. It must be absolutely horrifying. If he tells someone what he saw, just hearing about it makes them starve themselves too. The tone of this segment is on point. There is a lot of unnecessary exposition from the mom, but I can look past that. Surprisingly, we get way more gore in this short than the one with the little sociopath Antichrist. The mom in the box has a dream where her starving family eats her alive at the dinner table. It's a little unsettling, and the gore that's applied to her body looks great. The cut off pieces don't, but I'm still giving the gore a thumbs up here. The acting is decent enough in this segment. I didn't love the dad though. The director, Jovanka Vuckovic, hasn't done much, and this short doesn't really have a unique feel, but I'm still interested in seeing what she does in the future. When a short isn't being shown, we travel through a creepy house by the magic of stop motion. The framing sequence is directed by Sofia Carrillo, and it's probably the best part of the film. It's odd, surreal, and beautiful. Sofia has done a few animated shorts in the same style. After seeing XX, I checked out her short, La Casa Triste, and it's haunting and gorgeous. I really dig her aesthetic. As a whole, XX is just okay. There are parts that I found enjoyable and parts that make me not even want to recommend this movie at all. If you are hunting for an anthology that's great through and through, skip XX and check out something like Trick or Treat. Number 4, The Blackcoat's Daughter, 2015, directed by Oz Perkins. This movie might be better viewed without spoilers, so I'll start with a short review here. The Blackcoat's Daughter is an atmospheric slow burn film that's shrouded in mystery. While I do recommend it, I think there are some glaring issues. If you don't want any spoilers, skip to 22 minutes 36 seconds for the next movie. Here we go. Kat is a possessed girl who somehow knows her parents died in a car crash. A demonic entity recruited her to kill for it. Since her parents don't pick her up, she has to stay at her Catholic school with another girl named Rose. There are also 2 nun chaperones on campus. Kat kills Rose and the chaperones, beheads them, and displays their heads in front of a boiler. Eventually, she is found by a police officer and is allegedly shot in the shoulder after shouting "Hail Satan" and a demonic scream. Another story that is being shown simultaneously is about a girl named Joan. She was in a psych ward and is helped out by a guy named Bill and his wife. The couple are revealed to be Rose's parents. They say she died 9 years ago. The girl referred to as Joan killed a lady with that name and stole her identity. She then kills the couple, decapitates them, and takes their heads to the same boiler room that Kat did. This time the boiler isn't on. It's revealed that the girl is an older Kat. After being shot by the cop, Kat was exorcised of the demon possessor and put in a psych ward. Kat misses the demon and breaks down since she can no longer connect with it. Kat and a car crash are the killers. Yeah, that's a whole lot of plot. When the movie ended, I slowly put together that Joan is Catherine, but The Blackcoat's Daughter makes it incredibly hard to realize this. First off, Emma Roberts plays Joan, and Kiernan Shipka plays Kat. Emma is older than Kiernan, sure. Thing is, they look pretty close in age, and don't look alike in the slightest. Okay, they both have blonde hair? I guess the director decided to go for bigger names instead of any sort of resemblance. This wouldn't be a big problem if one important part of the film was handled better. We learn that Joan has a gunshot wound on her shoulder. When Kat is confronted by the cop, he shoots a rifle at her, and we instantly cut away. We don't see where she is shot. It's heavily implied that Kat died. If you want to use two actresses that look nothing alike to play the same person, knock yourself out. Honestly, that would be fine if the police officer shot Kat's shoulder on screen. That's the biggest change the movie needs to gain some level of cohesion. Joan has a flashback of a police officer shooting a rifle, but that still isn't enough due to the way the stories are structured. Maybe I just wasn't paying enough attention. I did go back and watch the flashback, which only shows the shot and lasts about a second. After seeing the ending, I can now put things together with the flashback, but actually during my viewing, I think it would have helped if the flashback was longer. It could show the police officer with his gun raised for a brief instant before the shot. Another thing they could have done is just not cast Emma Roberts and instead cast a much older woman to play a much older Kat. There are a ton of other confusing moments in the film, like the dream Kat has in the beginning, but I could at least piece together that the dream showed how her parents died. Besides some overall bad and confusing plot decisions, the film is pretty good. I don't mind the structure of the film, which is broken up into different pieces for Kat, Rose, and Joan. I do believe it's necessary in order not to spoil the twist, which I should have been able to piece together much earlier in the film if my brain didn't keep yelling, Emma Roberts and Karyn and Shipka are completely different people at me the entire time I was watching. I enjoyed the cinematography and felt the music and dark ambient noise really helped instill a sense of dread as I watched the film. The only part of the sound design I didn't enjoy was the decision to distort the police officer's voice as he tries to talk Kat down after finding her shrine to Satan. It's odd and feels out of place. I don't feel like the acting is fantastic, but it's good enough for me. Kat is supposed to come off as an unsettling, creepy weirdo, which I think Shipka does pretty well here. Emma Roberts isn't incredible, but I think her strength is actually comedic acting. If you haven't seen the first season of Scream Queens yet, she is the main character and hilarious. The gore in The Blackcoat's Daughter is done well. The shot of the smashed up car is surprisingly unsettling due to some barely visible gore. We see a lot of stabbing from past and present Kat, and the heads are a great horrifying touch. It's a thankless job collecting heads for Boiler Satan. Overall, I enjoyed The Blackcoat's Daughter. I do not think this will be for everyone since not a lot happens. If you are a fan of creepy, atmospheric movies, check this out. Number 5, Terrifier, 2016, directed by Damien Leone. A disfigured victim of what's called the Miles County Massacre is on a talk show. After the talk show, the victim kills the rude host. Art the Clown, the one who massacred everyone, is still alive. He goes on a rampage and kills a bunch of people. One girl named Victoria, who is trying to get her sister, who's already been killed, ends up being disfigured by Art but survives. Art shoots himself in the head but comes back to life in the morgue. Victoria is shown to be leaving a mental hospital at the end of the movie. It's revealed that she is the victim from the talk show. Art the Clown and Victoria are the killers. I recently recommended a horror comedy clown slasher called Stitches. So how does Terrifier hold up to that? Well, the short of it is, I recommend watching Stitches instead. That doesn't mean there's no enjoyment to be had with Terrifier. Terrifier seems like a movie that should be right up my alley, but while I was watching it, something felt off. It's got a bunch of over-the-top, insane practical gore that's done very well. A face is turned into a jack-o'-lantern, a girl is almost completely cut in half while she's hung upside down, a guy's decapitated, and another has his face stomped in by clown shoes. The gore isn't bad. It's practical and superbly done. Art the Clown is fantastic. His mannerisms and silence throughout the movie are quite funny. The acting is terrible from everyone that talks, but I'm not looking for great performances here. So what's the deal? I want to say it's the movie's location and soundtrack that make it fall flat for me. The cinematography is also incredibly basic, but I feel like that wouldn't matter as much if we were given some exciting locations with some life instead of one drab, abandoned building. There is barely any color variation. My eyes got tired of looking at the same bland colors. The music is incredibly uninspired. This is a killer clown slasher. You can goof up the soundtrack a little bit to an extreme amount with this kind of movie. I do really like the character design for Art the Clown. He's the perfect level of funny and creepy. My only issue with his design are his fingerless gloves. I personally prefer goofy-looking Mickey Mouse-style gloves when it comes to murderous clowns. Also, his shoes don't squeak. I know that would make him less stealthy, but I'm suspending my disbelief a lot already. Why not have his shoes make silly squeaking sounds while he's sneaking up on people? I mean, the people he's killing aren't the brightest. Take Victoria for instance. Victoria is trying to find her sister Tara and Tara's friend Don after they called her for a ride home. While driving to get them, Victoria hears on the radio that there is a crazy killer, possibly a crazy clown killer, on the loose in the area she is heading to pick up Tara and Don. They aren't answering her calls when she gets there, so Victoria decides to look around in a creepy abandoned building for them. There are multiple signs hitting Victoria in the face that say, "Yo, they are probably super dead. You should get out of here and call the police just in case something happened." But Victoria ventures deeper and deeper into the abandoned building and only realizes that she's in a bad situation after seeing Don's dead body. She locates the body after hearing Don's ringtone, which is honestly fire. I couldn't help doing a small dance whenever the ringtone went off during the movie. Victoria, there were so many signs to turn back. Anyway, Tara gets captured by Art the Clown. He has a hard time deciding on a weapon to kill her with. At the beginning of the movie, he stuffs a plain black trash bag full of sharp, murdery objects. First off, how does the trash bag not rip? I can only suspend my disbelief to a certain degree. I feel like this trash bag would instantly get a hole in the bottom. That would have been a great gag. Art gets everything in the trash bag, picks it up, and then it tears and everything falls out. Then he could have grabbed a fanny pack and loaded that fashion statement with his killing tools. Wait, no one steal that idea. Someday I'm going to make a movie called The Fanny Pack Fanny Hacker. That's a working title. I just think it would be funny if the killer murders people by cutting off their butts. Terrifier did have Art cut off a woman's breasts and scalp, which he uses as a disguise, but my movie about severed butts will be much different. It would be funny if the killer wore the butts though. My last gripe with Terrifier is an issue I have with a ton of slashers, so it's not the biggest deal. Art the Clown gets knocked to the ground 2 times in this. The first time, Tara grounds him by continuously whacking him in the head with a wooden board. She has the upper hand and could probably kill him, but she decides to yell at him to get up over and over, which gives him time to take out his ankle pistol and shoot her in the leg. You really screwed the pooch there, Tara. What a terrible course of action. Later on, a pest control dude that was in the building knocks Art down with the barrel thing. It makes more sense here than the former situation that he tries to run off since he's trying to rescue Victoria, but pest control dude should have kept bashing Art to ensure their escape. Terrifier is an alright slasher for gore fans. It's got some fantastic practical effects embodied in a lackluster shell. I only recommend checking this out if you really dig practical effects gore and have already seen Stitches. Number 6. Las Brujas de Zugarramurdi. The Witches of Zugarramurdi, aka Witching and Bitching, 2013, directed by Álex de la Iglesia. A group of Nimrods hold up a cash for gold store. 3 of the robbers, Jose, his son Sergio, and another guy named Tony, get away in a taxi. The taxi driver joins their gang. They head for France and end up at a mansion inhabited by witches who foresaw their arrival and are about to have a huge ritual. Long story short, most of the guys get captured. The lead witch's daughter Eva falls in love with Jose for some reason. A giant witch monster thing comes to do the ritual. The monster eats Sergio, then bursts him. Eva helps Jose scare the giant monster away, and the whole gang escapes the witches. Sergio performs a magic show using real magic. Eva and Jose are now a thing, and the witches plot their revenge. SpongeBob SquarePants, the witches, and the giant witch monster are the killers. SpongeBob, well, a robber in a SpongeBob costume, lights up a guard with an Uzi before turning into a real hole-filled sponge himself. The witches are shown eating people, so they must have killed for that meat. The giant witch monster steps on and kills witches, so also a killer. Those are your allies, Big Witch. I watched another Álex de la Iglesia film called Balada Triste de Trompeta, translated Sad Trumpet Ballad, and brought to the US with the name The Last Circus about 10 years ago. Meaning I watched it about 10 years ago. I remember it being wacky and gross. It also starred Carolina Bang, Iglesia's wife, who plays Eva in Witching and Bitching. I've decided to use that title solely because I can't roll my R's, even though I think it's a terrible title. Witching and Bitching starts off as a comedic heist film. The gang that's knocking over the Cash for Gold store are all dressed as street performers, which makes the heist both absurd and genius. I'd say the heist is the high point of the movie, which is a problem since this is supposed to primarily be a killer witch movie. I'd say the movie is decent until the gang leaves the mansion for the first time. We start with the fun heist. The gang then makes it to the witch's weird inn that's creepy and interesting, and finally we make it to the huge mansion, which is full of potential. Unfortunately, everything falls apart here. The gang leaves their loot bag at the mansion, go back to get it, and get attacked by the witches. This should be exciting, but the witches don't really use any magic. They mostly just fly around, crawl on the walls, and walk on the ceiling. That's not what I want from witches. I want crazy spells. For example, it would have been hilarious if a witch turned one of the robber's legs into frog legs while he was trying to get away. I would have appreciated pretty much any quirky magic. The closest we get to cool magic are multiple scenes where the witches squeeze and drink fluids out of frogs. Well, during one of the sequences, Eva just covers herself in it mostly, but that happens too. Jose's ex-wife Sofia hunts down Jose to get Sergio back, and once at the mansion, the witches transform her into a witch by having her drink frog goop and eat a human ear they cut off a guy that was in the taxi the gang commandeered. The taxi passenger might be the best character in the movie. He is constantly getting screwed over. There's one scene that I found especially funny where a witch says she made finger food, which are shown to be actual human fingers, which prompts the taxi passenger to look at his hands where he realizes all his fingers have been cut off. Most of our gore comes from the taxi passenger's misfortune, and it looks okay. One of the witches puts in sharp metal teeth and bites a robber, but instead of a great practical gushing bite wound, we get some crappy digital blood splatter. With the amount of money that went into this movie, I can't believe they decided to use a terrible digital effect for the bite. While I think the plot of the movie is especially boring and drags on for far too long, I do think there is some great design work. The character designs are decent when it comes to the witches and street performer costumes. The sets actually look great. The giant naked witch monster is a sight to behold, and the CGI used for it is passable. Unfortunately, great looking characters and sets don't make up for a boring plot. The acting is fine, it's campy which fits the movie. There are two detectives that are following the ex-wife who is tracking Jose's cell phone. The detectives add literally nothing to the movie. They should have been cut completely. It's dumb that Eva decides to turn her back on her coven for Jose. I wanted the witches to win. The guys are just whiny losers. The best part of the movie is probably the very end where Sergio does his magic trick. It's the age-old trick where you put your assistant in a box and cut them into pieces. Sergio actually cuts the girl up, shows the audience her blood-gushing torso, then uses real magic to put her back together. She's fine, but vomits due to the experience. The trick is great, uniquely executed, and funny. I wish I could say that about the rest of the movie. If you are looking for a funny witch movie, stay away from Witching and Bitching and watch Hocus Pocus for the 1000th time instead. Number 7, Buffy Babble. I'm up to Season 7, Episode 12 now. A lot of stuff has happened, so the segment is going to be long. Let's start off with the killers, shall we? Xander, Sweet the dancing and singing demon. An old lady worm thing. Warren, robed individuals that work for the First. A flesh-eating demon Gnarl. A pre-existing heart condition. Anya, a demon spider. Andrew, Spike, and a Turok Han are the killers. Real quick, since I don't want to waste as much time on this trio as Season 6 does, Jonathan, who we all know and love, teams up with Warren, the guy who made the Robot Girls, and a guy named Andrew, who's the brother of the kid that had the demon dogs attack a dance back in Buffy's high school days. They couldn't get the original actor, so Andrew is his goofy brother replacement. They are basically a trio that mildly annoys Buffy while trying to get ultimate power. They end up being really rapey and try to mind control girls to have sex with them. Warren mind controls his ex. The mind control wears off mid-felony, so he racks up another felony by killing her. This gang literally does nothing for the plot and could have been completely removed and replaced. Basically, the only reason they are in the show at all is to be a catalyst for the finale. Warren shows up at Buffy's house with a gun after she humiliates him and starts shooting her. While doing this, he also shoots up into a window randomly while running away, which kills Tara. Don't get me started on the impossible trajectory of that bullet. The trio could have been replaced by a random street gang, and a lot of time could have been saved. Turning Jonathan into a bad guy isn't good fan service. Important part to remember, Buffy gets shot and lives while Tara gets shot and dies. It's a shame I already used a terrible pun this episode. Come to think of it, Tara in Terrifier also died from getting shot. Small world. Back to Buffy. Pet warning, a dog gets eaten by a giant worm monster after Anya grants the girl's wish that her ex turn into a worm. Yeah, Anya turns back into a vengeance demon for a bit after Xander leaves her at the altar. He was spooked by a guy pretending to be future Xander. Xander doesn't even ask future Xander any questions to make him prove he is actually Xander. He's obviously not Xander. Anyway, Anya turns back into a vengeance demon. The new look for the vengeance demons is terrible. They still rock the skinned look from when Anya was originally introduced, but now they have the hole that is behind your nose cartilage on top of the nose. It looks really stupid. Anya grants a girl's wish that a bunch of frat guys get their hearts torn out by summoning a spider demon that rips out hearts. They all die, but Anya asks her boss to take the wish back, which he does by killing another vengeance demon. So technically, Anya and the spider demon didn't kill anyone, but it's shown that Anya's wish granting in the past has left a body count, so on the list she remains. She's back to being a human. During this season, it's teased very early on that Willow is going to go power crazy and become the big bad. I think this is an awesome idea, and it does come to fruition. There is a huge hiccup along the way that cheapens the finale. Basically, Tara leaves Willow because Willow's getting all magic crazy. After Tara leaves, Willow brings back Amy, the witch that's been a rat for seasons now. Amy ends up taking Willow to a place where you do magic like a hard drug. Willow gets addicted to it. This whole idea that magic is basically an addictive drug is incredibly heavy-handed and asinine. Hey, Buffy writers, come sit down. I'll tell you how you should have written this season. You were fine up until Tara leaving Willow and Amy being brought back from rat form. Actually, everything leading up to the magic crack den is fine. Now, instead of the magic crack den, you have Amy introduce Willow to an otherworldly being that can make her more powerful. Willow then makes a pact with the being and becomes a warlock instead of a witch, in the sense of D&D. Willow has incredible dark power and starts being a danger to those around her, so Buffy stages an intervention leading to a mini-battle where she tells the otherworldly being that Willow has a pact with to cease and desist. The being obliges after Buffy does them a favor or something. For example, Buffy kills a meddlesome demon. Willow then swears off magic. We then have the same events happen where Tara gets shot and killed by Warren, and Willow hulks out. She calls out to Osiris again for help resurrecting Tara, who says, "No way, Jose." And then out of fury and a thirst for vengeance, Willow calls upon her old master and packs up again, which makes her lose control, thus turning into Evil Willow, leading to her still flaying Warren while he's still alive. She's not a killer since it's a revenge kill. Hot damn, that would have been fantastic. Instead, we get the really stupid magic addiction plot in the middle of a truly great concept. There are other parts of terrible writing in this season. Basically, Buffy starts hate boning Spike because she hates being back on Earth since it's practically torment all the time to be alive after experiencing a version of heaven. Spike at this point has been shown to really care about Buffy and to some extent the gang. He watches out for Dawn and isn't nearly as big of a jerk anymore. So what do the writers do to make the audience turn on Spike? They have him try to rape Buffy. It feels completely out of character. I get that he's still an evil vampire that did a lot of unspeakable things in the past, but for the last couple of seasons, Spike is built up to be a redeemed character. All of that development goes out the window with one awful bit of writing. Hey writers, stop using rape as a plot device. After this happens, Spike feels terrible and goes to find an ancient demon guy. He asks the guy to give him the power to give Buffy what she deserves, meaning death, because now the writers decided he instantly wants to go back to his old killing ways, but after facing a bunch of trials, the demon gives Spike his soul back instead. Now the writers are trying to redeem Spike again from scratch. He's got a soul now, he's so different. I guess you can technically argue that the way the boning sessions were initiated were a little rapey, so what happened isn't much of a stretch. I still feel it's out of character and bad writing. Currently, we are dealing with hypnotized Spike killing people. Who knows where this will lead? Some crazy, poor-written redemption, I guess. Dawn is more insufferable than ever this season. There are multiple points in the season where the gang is in a heap of trouble. Instead of trying to help the gang, who is rightfully focusing on the matter at hand, Dawn whines and cries that no one is giving her enough attention. Gee, Dawn, maybe you should stop asking for attention when there's a life and death situation going on. Remember when I was talking about the fan servicey trio? Well, Andrew and Jonathan come back during season 7. Andrew, the only character on the show that is worse than early Xander, Principal Snyder, and whiny Dawn, tries to stab Jonathan to death in order to give blood to an ancient manhole cover thing. Jonathan then has to kill Andrew in self-defense, leading to Andrew's blood getting on the evil ground pentagram. After this, Jonathan goes to Buffy and pleads for forgiveness. He tells her everything he knows and joins the gang. I know what you're thinking. Now, Josh, that's how you do some fan service. I love the Jonathan redemption arc. Too bad I'm a dirty liar and Andrew actually succeeds in killing Jonathan. Now we are stuck with Andrew, who is kind of a gang hostage that's no longer tied up. I hate this character so much. The wrong nerd died. To wrap this up, the first one, who is more or less the incarnate of original evil, is back. It had a brief stint in an earlier episode, and this time it's out for complete domination and destruction. Even though Buffy died, there isn't a new Slayer for some reason. I'm not sure why the rules were changed. Buffy died before creating Kendra, then Kendra died creating Faith. So since Buffy died again, we should have another Slayer. Instead, a bunch of hopeful Slayers were being murdered, so at this point in the season, all the hopefuls that are still alive are gathering at Buffy's house. Miranda from Lizzie McGuire is one of them. I had a big crush on her when I was younger. I found out she had to go to rehab for meth. Don't worry, she's doing a lot better now, it looks like. Felicia Day is also one of the hopefuls. Anyway, the first had their gaggle of followers awaken a Turok Han, which is an old, super strong vampire. Buffy kills it in front of the hopefuls to inspire hope in them. Hopefully, they're full of it now. I almost forgot. One of the episodes in Season 6 is a musical. It's a lot of fun. Everyone bursting out into song and dance is explained in universe. Xander decided to summon a demon that would make this happen. The demon Sweets makes people dance until they die. That's why Xander and Sweets are on the killer list. The songs are great, and it is a really creative way to easily push a bunch of plot forward. That's all for Buffy this episode. I believe next episode's Buffy Babble will be the last. It might get replaced by Castle Rock. If you have any other horror show recommendations, let me know. Episode 27 is now in your brain. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember in UHF when Weird Al's character is upset and introduces a cartoon to his kid audience during his Uncle Nutsy's Clubhouse segment and yells, "I hope you enjoy it," at them? No? Watch UHF, it's great. I just remembered that Weird Al did a version of the Pokemon rap for one of the Pokemon movies. Man, I wish he'd make a horror comedy. I love that guy. If you like this episode of Blank is the Killer, why not rate it on iTunes? If you're like me and never update your iPhone, since the updates only seem to make your phone slower and slower and slower, and you aren't able to search and therefore rate using the Apple Podcast app for some reason, I completely understand. If you have recently updated or turned off and on your phone, I'd really appreciate a rating. The current goal is to get the number of ratings into double digits. That's only 4 more ratings, folks. Lend me your energy. Big thanks to Sticker Fridge for hosting the podcast on their website, allowing it to reach your favorite podcast apps. The Basuda Boys are back after a long hiatus, and they're as funny as ever. Check them out if you want to laugh with some opposite of wholesome boys. They truly do live up to their name with their zany anecdotes. It's weird how some stories they tell can be so appalling and hilarious at the same time. I'll be back on the 23rd of September with more spooky movies. Make sure to start getting ready for Halloween. It's about to sneak up on you.